Tonight we're going to continue our discussion about types of angles, and we're actually going to do a little throwback to our equations unit, and we're now going to use algebra to help us figure out the measure of angles. So here's our objective. I can use facts about angle relationships, whether they're supplementary, complementary, vertical, and adjacent, to solve simple equations and determine the measure of unknown angles. So that's what we're going to work on tonight. So let's jump right in. So if we're given a problem and you're given a beautiful visual and they want you to find x, the first thing you have to pull apart is what type of angles are they? That's the only way we're going to be able to set up an equation and find out what x is. So that's what you ask yourself when you see this visual. What type of angles are shown in the following diagram? Well, we know when two lines intersect, angles opposite one another are called vertical angles. And as soon as you know we're dealing with vertical angles, so the 74-degree angle and the angle labeled 2x are vertical angles. And as soon as you know they're vertical angles, you know they have the same measure. They're congruent, or they have the same measure. And once you know these are congruent angles, or their angle measures are the same, in mathematics, when things are the same, they are equal to one another. So to find x, we'll take our first angle, our 74-degree angle, and we know that's the same as the angle labeled 2x. So this entire angle here will also be 74 degrees. We'll be able to solve for x. So now I look, I go, okay, they're vertical. They have the same measure. I set up this beautiful equation. How do I solve for x? So this is why it's a throwback to our equation unit. To get x by itself, what's the operation between the 2 and the x? Oh, that operation is multiplication. How do we undo multiplication? What's the opposite of multiplication? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So to get x all by itself, I have to divide by its coefficient. I divide by the number that had been multiplied by x. Because that way, 2 divided by 2, fancy form of 1, bye-bye. If I'm going to divide this side of the equal sign by 2, I have to go to the other side of the equal sign and also divide that by 2. Whatever you do to one side of an equal sign, you also must do to the other so that the equality can remain. Bye-bye ones. So we have x equals, how many times does 2 go into 74? 2 goes into 4 3 times. 2 times 3 is, 2 goes into 7 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Drag down that 4. 2 goes into 14 7 times. So 37 degrees must be x. And how can we check that that's true? Well, we know 2 times x has to be 74. Let's do 2 times 37 and hope that that's 74. 37 times 2. Because if we have 2x and we know that has to be 74, let's just substitute in the 37, check that it works. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 is 7. 74. Totally checks out. Both of those angles are 74 degrees. Let's try another one. Again, as soon as I need you to use algebra to be able to find angles, what you want to do is you want to look at the visual. If they give you a visual and you want to say to yourself, okay, what type of angles am I given? So it says, what type of angles are shown in the following diagram? Well, if you look at these angles and you see this beautiful right angle symbol right there, then you know angle 1 and angle 2 together add up to 90 degrees. So they're complementary. So angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary angles. Two angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary. So now we'll be able to find the measure of angle 1. Two angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary. So I know angle 1 plus angle 2, together those two angles have to add up to 90 degrees. That's what that little symbol tells me. So angle 1, they tell us, is 2x minus 3. Keep my plus sign. Angle 2, they tell us, is x plus 3. And those two angles are complementary. They have to add up to 90 degrees. What's in front of this x? Oh, coefficient of 1. So now I'm going to go back into my equations unit. I have to first simplify the expression on this side of the equal sign. What's 2x plus 1x? Oh, that's 3x. So I just combined my 2x and my 1x, and I came up with 3x. Now I have to do minus 3 plus 3. Well, what's minus 3 plus 3? Oh, those are additive inverses. Those will zero out. Minus 3 plus 3 is 0, so I no longer even have to worry about the constant, because if I was going to add plus 0 here, it doesn't change the value. So that's 3x equals 90 when I combine like terms on the left-hand side. Now I say to myself, to solve for x, what's the operation between the 3 and the x? The operation is multiplication. How do I undo multiplication? I undo multiplication with division. To get x by itself, I'm going to divide by the coefficient of x, whatever x had been multiplied by. That way those 3's are gone. Bye-bye, fancy Formula 1. If I'm going to divide the left-hand side of an equal sign by 3, I must also divide the right-hand side by 3. Bye-bye. X equals 30 degrees. But they asked us to find the measure of angle 1. Okay, the measure of angle 1 is 2x minus 3. That means 2 times x minus 3. That means 2 times, what did we get for x? 30 minus 3. 2 times 30 is 60, minus 3 is 57 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 57 degrees. Measure of angle 2, they don't ask for it, but if they wanted the measure of angle 2, that's x plus 3. X is 30, so that's 30 plus 3. 30 plus 3 is 33 degrees. We could have also found the measure of angle 2. And if you add up 33 and 57, what had you better come up with? Keep in mind, these are complementary, so they better add up to 90 degrees, and they do. So that's just a quick check. But they wanted the measure of angle 1. We found the measure of angle 1 to be 57 degrees. All right, let's move on. Here's another beautiful diagram, and oftentimes when they're asking you to find angles, they will give you a beautiful diagram. What type of angles are shown in the following diagram? Well, if I look at this diagram and I start here and I sweep out my first angle and I continue on and I sweep out my second angle, how much have I swept out? Oh, I've swept out 180 degrees. These are actually supplementary angles. These are supplementary angles. Together they sweep out 180. So supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So let's just pretend this was called angle 1 and this was called angle 2. If we want to write an equation to find x, if we know they're supplementary, I can take angle 1, add angle 2, and they have to add up to 180 degrees. Together they form this beautiful straight line. Angle 1, 4x plus 45, plus angle 2, 5x minus 18, is 180 degrees. All righty, Rue. I could be done because they asked me just to write an equation that could be used to find x. But let's say I wanted to go further, and let's say I wanted to now find x. Now it's just a solving equations. Way back in our equation unit, it's a quick little throwback. In order to solve this equation, we want to combine our x's. 4x plus 5x is 9x. Then we have positive 45 minus 18. So what's 45 minus 18? 15 minus 8 is 7. 3 minus 1 is 2. 27, it looks like. So that's plus 27 equals 180 degrees. I could subtract 27 on both sides if I want to be able to solve for x. Always undo my addition and subtraction. So then I'd have 9x equals 180 minus 27. Let's hope I'm not making any calculation errors. I don't have a calculator in front of me. 10 minus 7 is 3. 7 minus 2 is 5. So that's 153. Divide that by 9. Divide each side by 9 to find x. 9 goes into 153. 9 goes into 15 once. 15 minus 9 is that 6. Ooh, 9 goes into 63 7 times. So x would be 17 degrees. I could then substitute in and find each angle if I wanted to get crazy. If I wanted to find the measure of angle 1, I could do 4x plus 45. I could do 4 times 17 plus 45. I could work that out and figure out what angle 1 was. Let's see, I gotta find a calculator. So if I was gonna do 4 times 17, that's 68. 68, and if I added 45, 113. Sorry about that. Let me go back. That's 113 degrees. So this one would be 113 degrees if they ask for that. If they ask for the measure of angle 2, that's 5x minus 18. 5 times x minus 18. That's 5 times 17 minus 18. What's 5? My slides keep moving ahead. Obviously, I've spent too much time on this problem. 5 times 17 is 85. 85 minus 18. What's 85 minus 18? 67. So this one's 67 degrees, and 113 plus 67 had better be 180. It's almost comical. I can't even imagine. This is ridiculous. So 113 and 67 sure is 180. It all works out beautifully. So I went a little bit further than they asked. They just asked for the equation. I actually found x, and then I found each angle. Let's do one more problem. Sometimes they won't give us a visual. It says the measure of the supplement of an angle is 12 less than the measure of the angle. Okay, supplementary angles add up to 180. Set up and solve an equation to determine the measure of the angle and its supplement. Okay, we have to determine the measure of the angle. So let's let x equal the angle that we're looking for. So the supplement, it says the supplement of an angle is 12 less than the measure of the angle. 12 less than x. So the supplement will be 12 less than x. And so if I want to do 12 less than x, that means x minus 12. So the supplement would be x minus 12. So the angle would be x, its supplement would be x minus 12. So to get the equation, they're supplementary, they have to add up to 180. So we'll take the angle plus its supplement, and we'll get 180. Well, what did we choose to call the angle? We chose to call the angle x. Plus its supplement was 12 less than x. So I would write x minus 12. And together, those have to add up to 180 degrees because they're supplementary. 1x plus 1x is 2x. Still minus 12 equals 180 degrees. Now if I want to undo this subtraction, I need to add 12 to each side of this equation. Woo. So then I have 2x equals, those zero out, 192. To get x by itself, I'll divide the left by 2. If I'm going to divide the left-hand side by 2 to get x by itself, I had better divide the right-hand side by 2. 192 divided by 2. I'm going to use my calculator because I'm running out of time. 192 divided by 2. X is 96 degrees. So the angle is 96 degrees. And its supplement would be x minus 12. 96 minus 12. 96 minus 12 is 84 degrees. So that's 84 degrees. I've just found the angle and its supplement. If I take 96 plus 84, let's just double check that's really 180. And it sure is. Okay, so this checks out. So this was just to show you, in case you're not given a visual, you might have to create your equation. hopefully that is a reminder of solving equations and using it to find angles. That's it. I'm out of